Hello, everyone. Good morning. Okay, no, nobody saw that. I did not break it. Um, Thank you all for being with us today. I know there's a lot of good sessions happening right now, so we really appreciate that you chose ours to attend. And we'll just take a little bit of time to introduce ourselves. So, my name is Tsveti Karaivanova. Hello. Yay. My name is Tsveti Karaivanova, and I'm the Director of International Recruitment at Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. I have been at Xavier for about 10 years 10 years now. Prior to starting in the admission and recruitment position, I spent about 8 years in international student advising. So I was the person who would welcome students to our campus, pick them up from the airport, orientation, cultural adjustment. So I have a lot of experience working with international students, and I was also an international student myself. I moved to the States about 20 years ago to pursue higher education, and I'm originally from Bulgaria. And I'll hand it off to my wonderful co-presenters.
Hi, everyone. So lovely to see you. I'm Pragati. I've been in college counseling for the last 26 years now, and I work with the Aga Khan Academy in Hyderabad. I'm really looking forward to a lot of discussions and conversation in this session. A lot of friends sitting here. So thank you so much for coming down, for cheering us. It's a huge space. So all of us are feeling a bit, lost in finding our sessions and doing that. If you could all come up to the front, it would feel fuller and nicer. Right now, it feels very spread out. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to the session.
Good morning, everybody. Please come forward. We'll have this more in the form of a discussion than we talking. Please. Please, all of you there, come forward. And then we won't even need the mic.
Oh, I will need it.
You will, of course, need it. The both of us won't then. So I'm Sanjukta Podar. I'm from Calcutta International School. I have finished about 23 years of college counseling this year, but that is something that happened to me more by accident than by choice. Having said that, that makes me feel that all the more every school and every student needs to have a counselor in their life. Of course, today we are going to talk about AI and whether that's going to make us redundant. But let's see how the discussion goes, and we would want it to be more in the form of a discussion because that's what we are here for, to learn from each other.
Thank you. So, yes, is AI coming for my job? So every time a new technology is introduced, there is a little bit of excitement. Oh, what new tricks can this teach me? Then there's a little bit of fear because, oh, what can this do? And is it going to replace me at my job? I will admit, when I first looked at this image, I thought this red lever was a sweeper. And I was very excited because I said, yes, AI can completely replace me when it comes to cleaning my house. But then the more I look at it, I realized, oh no, this is opening. I'm not sure what that dungeon is where I'm going down. But I would like to think AI is here to enhance our professional and personal lives and not completely eliminate us. I can think of a few different ways where I would love to use AI tools to make my life at work more efficient and more pleasant. I think AI is here to replace more of the redundant data entry type of work and not necessarily the communication. I think this cannot be replaced by AI, right? So having this connection with you here today, exchanging ideas, this enriches our personal but also our professional lives. So I will pass it on to my co-presenters to tell us more about the counseling side.
Sorry, guys. Okay, I can hear myself so differently when I'm on the mic, but that's fine. I'm going to talk a bit about my journey with technology. As I said, I've been in the field for 26 years, and hence I've seen the evolution when we worked without the laptops, without a personal computer. Everything was on paper, to now where the technology has reached where it has reached. And while I talk, I would like you to reflect on your own journey. All of us are in different phases of our counseling and admissions journey. And it would be interesting, to see where we were and where we are and how we can connect those dots together. So when I started my journey 26 years back, I remember the personal computers were just coming into offices, and I was told, Pragati, create your personal email ID and start learning how to make a PowerPoint presentation. And I remember that 26-year-old me was so hesitant, and I was like, no, I'm a human being, I'm a psychologist, I'm not a technology person. And I resisted it for 2 years. I didn't even create my email ID. This was back in 1997. And from there, went on to another school where I was forced into making presentations. And I went to cyber cafes. How many of you have seen the cyber cafe era? All of us, it seems, right? Then we went and we self-learned, right? We did trial and error, we self-learned, we played solitaire to learn how to have control on the mouse. So that was also actually an element of AI where a game is being played using data at the back. But it wasn't talked about that much. And then comes the internet, and all applications go online. And here we are, where we learned the paper form, and we had to unlearn that part and go on to internet based. And then came all the common application systems and centralized everything, right? So that has also been a journey from no technology to technology, and that we were fearful of it then as well. I was talking to my friend who's 85-year-old, and he was saying that, Pragati, when Google came, we were as apprehensive that the encyclopedias are now useless, nobody's going to read it, nobody's going to make the effort to find information. But look at you now. Can you think of going through an encyclopedia or going on Google and just searching for stuff? We learned. So is the case with AI. We are all apprehensive, we are all worried, we are all thinking of ethics and integrity of it. And whether we like it or not, we can't behave like an ostrich. Our clientele are all teenagers, right? They're all out there. It's their world. They are into AI more than we can think. So today's session, let's all reflect and see how we can stop being an ostrich. It exists, it's there. We need to raise our head and look at it and face it head on. So let's enjoy this session. Okay, so while we began this journey of preparing for this session, all three of us, I think I've learned more about AI and what it can do for us in this journey of preparing for this particular session. Before that, I was like, no, 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 no. It's unethical. It's, it is not my work. If I get something ready-made, it means I've not worked hard enough for it. But slowly, as we research more and more into it, we realize that there are a lot of positives there. There's a lot of document. How many of you love the documentation work which goes behind a college counseling office? Love. Documents. Okay, it has to be done, right? But majority of us think that we have less time for our one-on-one interactions with the students, right? At the center of everything is that student who's come to our office, and counseling is a lot about conflict resolution, decision making, right? Having conversations. It is very contextual in nature. Every child is different. That is one angle, of course, we want to focus more on. but we have to spend a lot of time doing documentation work, which is keeping records of our meetings, preparing transcripts, writing recommendations, going through essays, training the students, preparing handouts, a lot of resources that we make for our counseling offices. So what over this learning phase, what we realized is that it's actually a boon. It can help us to give very personalized guidance. There are a lot of tools out there. Like morning only, I was looking at one of the AI counselors. It makes me scared. Honestly, it does. There's something called Globamba. Okay, Globamba is an AI college counselor. You ask questions, it asks you questions back, then you answer those questions. It gives you some resources. It's like a Q&A that you would have in an office, a conversation that you would have in an office. So it does give a lot of personalized guidance. Okay, how does it do it? How does the college matching happen? There's a lot of machine learning algorithms which are at the back end, where they pick up data from places like LinkedIn, they pick up data from Indeed, Glassdoor, and there are a lot of surveys and researches which exist on the internet. It gathers data through those complex algorithms, puts it together, and matches it with your student's profile. Where do you get that profile from? I was thinking, okay, great, you match it, but then how do you match it, right? The profile is separate, the interest results are separate, the potential is separate. How does this machine know that, we can match the two together? Okay, so the first thing that it will ask you is, okay, where do you want to study? What do you want to study? What are your interest areas? What are your grades looking like? What is your budget? I did it myself so that I can go through that journey to see what a student, and I'm sure the students have already done it. I'm thinking it's new, but it's really old for them. So it pulls out data from all these places within seconds. Earlier, that was done through encyclopedias manually, through newspapers manually, through books manually. Then came Google. We went through hundreds of sites ourselves and then put it together. Now, what Globamba is doing, it is putting everything together for you and giving it to you within a few seconds. What you are left with is customization of it further. Because what the AI can't do is the emotional aspect of it. An AI bot wouldn't know that this is an Indian citizen, an Indian passport holder, where there's a single parent maybe, or there are family complexities, has a younger brother to take care of. These are all relational aspects of counseling which we all deal with. Now, an AI bot doesn't know it, but it speeds up the process of research in the background. So that really helps us. So what we were spending hours on earlier, now we have within seconds, and that gives us a lot of free time to have one-on-one conversations with the students, to have those one-on-one time with the parents. It frees us from a lot of secretarial work. So what I would like to think of in terms of AI is that it's a virtual support system. It's available 24/7. The students can go, and it is one of the best things for schools which are under-resourced, where the counselors have, say, 500, 600,000 students to take care of, and they can't possibly humanly give that much time. So for those under-resourced schools, it's really a big boon. But for people like us, it is one of our most expert secretaries and a workhorse. It does the work super fast, and I'm like, yay, bring it on. I can now talk to the student and deal with the emotional decision-making process. So let's embrace it and not be scared of it, just like I was scared 26 years back of, okay, no internet, I'm not a technology person, I'm a human being, I'm a psychologist, sorry, no. We have to deal with it. We have dealt with it, right? So yeah, Sanjukta.
So, as Pragati very aptly put it, AI has been something that even me as a counselor of so many years was very scared of introducing into work. there have been areas where it has not been easy. To just give a couple of examples here, uh, when we talk about the internet and the search that AI can help us do for universities. I come from the city of Calcutta, which though is actually a metropolitan city in India, but is very much considered as a tier 2 city when it comes to university and applications. So universities very often tend to take in just, I'm talking about the good ones here, the top end ones, they tend to take in just about one or maximum two students from the city, forget from the same school. So when you have an AI generated list of universities coming in and the counselor not there to monitor what the university list is going to be, you'll have a number of people applying to the same places, leading to possibly actually deserving students missing out. So that is where the human touch of a counselor becomes so important to ensure that all the search etc that's coming in is actually monitored as well. Now, also, as Pragati put it, we are entering data into it, and that's how the results are coming out. We are considering that there could be 16, 17-year-old. Not every schools have counselors as yet. In fact, in my city, only most schools don't have. So a student putting it in may not be putting it in as aptly as possibly the human touch of us can do. So that is another area where you may actually not have the right match, but have actually mismatched data for yourself. Which is why I feel that while of course these are great tools and we're going to talk about how we can use them better so that these errors etc do not come in. The other part of it is I've just recently done, and I'm sure other counselors would have also done, we did the Times Higher Education training that they have for counselors, and they have a session in Goa after this in October. So there they kept telling us to use AI, to use it for the recommendations, to use it for the student essay feedback, etc. But and they actually promoted it enough and made me feel that okay, that's something that we could think of. But having said that, I have had the experience of UCAS coming back to me telling me that this is actually a plagiarized essay. So although these are things that they say that can be used, we need to be very, very mindful about what is being used and what percentage of it is going in. Now we are in IB school, we use Turnitin and we use all of those softwares and we use it on the essays also. So that definitely helps us understand whether it is plagiarized or whether there is other content in it or they have used AI, etc. But I'm sure not all schools have those kind of resources as well. So which is again the important why it's not that counselors are going to get redundant. Their role is going to remain as important as it has always been. Similarly, when it comes to recommendations, if you are able to put in the key areas and the key things that we want to talk about our children, of course, we get out nice recommendations. But having said that, they're usually longer than we want them to be. We have a specific word limit to maintain. Also, when you read it, there are many times when the counselor's voice is a little lost. So there again, you need to be going back and be careful about what is being done, etc. So having said that, I think even with the recommendations, the counselors via actual version more than the AI generated version is definitely more helpful. But as Pragati very aptly said, they can be like secretaries where you take out a little model piece of work and then of course work on it individually to ensure that you are putting in the right facts about your student and giving your student the right details. So these are some things that we need to be mindful about and not completely keep it on AI. And that's, I think, something that we need to take back to our schools as well, because there are a lot of times school management is not usually very aware about the counseling offices, practices, and what universities actually look at from a counseling office. So it's very, and they possibly the management also feels you now have these tools, it's going to be life easier, what's taking you so long to get the work done. But these are areas that we need to know, and these are areas that we need to ensure that everybody around us, all our stakeholders, whether it be parents, whether it be students, whether it be the management or us individually, know exactly that no matter what background we are getting in, we may have a data for reference now, but the work and our inputs into it is always going to remain very, very important. We'll now talk about how we'll use AI and how AI can be used to support children as well as our offices. So, firstly, when we look at academic support here, this when I talk about academic support, this is in terms of how teachers can use AI as well. Lesson plans, etc., and writing feedback for the children. All of that AI really gives us very, very good support on that. But like the way it works for counselors, the human touch still needs to remain there as well. So, but whether it be Chat GPT or there are n number of AI options available, they actually you can just key in the right words. What is very important is to note that we have to use the right questions and give them the right input. Without that, you are going to get erroneous results, which is not going to match what you want. So you need to be very sure as a teacher or as a counselor exactly what you need back from them, because what you key in is what you get back. The good part of it is once you get a report back or you get a lesson plan or you get a recommendation or whatever, they are you don't like what it is or you feel there are certain changes, you can go back to them as many times as you want to, and they will re-edit for you according to your format and get it back to you. But having said that, that's a waste of time. So it's very important you have your keywords, you have your the actual output that you want. You need to have that ready so that you are able to key it in properly and get the right results out. In terms of counselor support as well, there's a whole lot of things, whether it be recommendations, whether it be university lists, whether it be automated emails that keep going. You just have to give it in, and it just 2 seconds, and you have the formats out. But the only thing that I always, as I have been telling for the last 5 minutes, is we definitely need to go back and check through it no matter what it is. It definitely makes work simpler though, but more so for larger schools. But having said that, I work closely with class 8 to class 12, so that's also a big cohort of students. So these mails, etc., definitely AI helps us do a good job with them, because emails don't need to be absolutely personalized all the time when it's going out with information. So those are definitely areas where work can be done.
Thanks, Sanjukta. I would talk briefly about, the writing part of it. How many of us use Grammarly? Yeah, all of us have been using Grammarly. Did we ever think of it as an AI tool which we are using? Yeah, most of us thought it is a grammar and spell check and it's fine, right? So what has happened is, and I'm going to talk about the college support in a second. With the writing part, we've been using Grammarly for just spell check and grammar. The students have been using it in a more advanced format where they write something and Grammarly polishes it off for them. ChatGPT, Deep AI have gone a step further. So what is bothering us is the chat boxes that have come in, which completely write it, right? So we are worried about that element, that, okay, the writing support has gone a step ahead where we just feed in a question and a beautifully written essay comes out or a beautifully written recommendation letter comes out. And that's where we need to use these AI chat boxes for giving feedback rather than for writing it. It's about training the students to use it as a tool. And the reason why we are talking about it is that most of us feel that it is plagiarized. So there is a need to, educate the students as to what extent you can use it, to what extent you should not use it. It would be really interesting to hear it from a university perspective as to how would they look at essays and recommendations where a machine chat box or an AI tool has been used. How would they view it? Of course, we view it differently. I feel that when a chat GPT or a deep AI or a slide maker AI does things for me, I feel that my voice is lost. I am an Indian. I have an Indian voice. I use certain sentence structures. I emphasize a little more on something, a little less. That's my voice, right? But when a chat box is writing it, everybody is the same. It's the same words, it's the same sentence structure. Of course, you can tell it further. Please put in an Indian voice. Simplify it further. I've been doing it for learning. So I put in all my last year's recommendation content and I put it in. I'm like, write a recommendation for me. And then I compared it with what I already wrote for them last year. It came out extremely polished, but it lacked that personal touch. When a university reads a letter, I'm sure that you can visualize the student, but an AI written letter lacks that heart and soul. So that emotional part, you wanted to add something?
No, so I'm focused on the university.
Yes.
Our preference, this is my first year doing all of this, not just admissions and everything. And it's funny because one of the things I say to the students when I go, we know, I know these kids are smarter than we all think they are. They're, like you said, they're taking, what's it called, Grammarly, they're going a step further. And I said, we know it, and I think you hit it on the tail. You can tell, you read thousands and thousands of essays, they look almost the same, and it's dry, and it's very, even if they try to pretend to personalize it, like you take the,
Yeah.
I said, look, it's like, make it your own.
Yes. Yes.
And the other side of the coin is, the students, it makes them lazy.
It does.
They don't put themselves in it, because they think it looks good enough, and they'll just toss it in there.
Yes.
And either they don't do it,
Yeah. Thank you for that input. Actually, so true. As seasoned admissions people and counselors, we feel that that heart and soul, that voice, that's what we want to see.
and I'm only 1 year in, so I'm noticing it yet.
Now that is coming from the universities, I'm happy. The chat GTP was, even if you have given it the prompts to write, our school at some point said to the teachers, okay, you can use AI or POE, the POE, to write reports. It was producing generic reports. Unfortunately for me, as the school counselor and tutor for a certain group, I had twins. The twins had similar reports because it was generic produced. So we have to be very careful as we use, yes, AI is an enabler, but there are issues now.
There's just one thing more that I would like to add. We have seen so much of creativity in the young people, but with the chat GPT, with these, if I may call them tools, we see that this is disappearing. And it's so sad because they had been so creative. And another thing, when we talk about the academic support, we had 2 cases for our internal assessment where they had their mobile phones with them, and it was just ChatGPT, and the question was, does the school have to come up with a policy now regarding such situations? And we had to simply cancel the paper of the students, but now the school is thinking of coming up with a policy.
Thank you. See, it makes us evolve. It makes us think a step ahead. Now we are thinking of, okay, let's use it, but let's come up with a policy. Let's use it, but see that how can it be more personalized. I'll give you an example, and it would be wonderful if all of you can share examples. The other day, in the process of my learning on the Times Higher Education, where we had to put prompts and we had to, create some reports and things like that, I put in the details of a student, an Indian student with IB points 32, wants to study business and is looking for scholarship. Which universities in the US would you suggest? That was my prompt. So bang on, within seconds I had a long list of universities, the courses, the cost and everything. But along with that, there was one sentence which struck me. The student would have to fill up CSS profile and FAFSA. And I was like, okay. Then I replied back. I'm like, I think you made a mistake. This child is an Indian. So there is, oops, I'm sorry. The child would only have to fill the CSS profile. So it was like I'm having a conversation with somebody on the other end who's a human being. So that can actually make us start feeling that it's very real. It's very real. But the mistake is that it's a chat box. They told me that an Indian student has to fill FAFSA. I'm like, no. So we have to be careful there. It will create everything for you. And then, like for the college list, of course, most of us are using these tools in our schools. The college board tool, many of us use. But sometimes with, say, a 33 or a 34 or 35 points IB for an Indian passport holder is not the strongest of scores. And if the college list which comes up is University of Michigan, UCLA, MIT, and you're like, because the child feels very excited. ChatGPT has said, I can apply. Why are you telling me I can't apply? There comes the context. So we have to have conversations about the context. So that's where we are not becoming redundant, because we are there to provide that context. We are there to provide that emotional angle. Where the child is highly disappointed, ChatGPT told me I can go here. You are telling me, no, I'm not good enough. So there's a lot of distress there. So that distress cannot actually be handled by a bot. It has to be handled by a counselor who has the networks, who has the connections. I can pick up a phone and maybe talk to Sweti and say that this student applied to your university, has these points, this is the family situation currently, and can you help me guide that student better? Would an AI bot be able to do it? No, because that network and connections are missing there. So for factual stuff like create a college list, amazing. After that, please come to me. We will sit down and when we will have a discussion. It frees us time. As I said earlier, we'll have more time to discuss. We'll have more time to counsel. There are lots of tools, and when we were actually devising this, we were very careful of not taking names because it would seem as if we are advertising a few platforms and not talking about a few. But some which we have used ourselves while we prepared for this session, we thought that let's do that in the classes. One more thing which I felt was very convenient for the students to use was to work on the activity sheets. So all university applications have an activity component to it that's factual in nature, right? Because it is factual in nature, sometimes you use alternate vocabulary, you need alternate words, synonyms, antonyms, things like that. There I felt that, and correct me if I'm wrong, any university professional sitting here, correct me if I'm wrong. It's factual information. I took part in MUN from this time to this time, 5 weeks, of participation, these many hours. I was a facilitator, things like that. There, it is okay to use, AI to polish off, and maybe, it's tough for them to write in really small number of words. That's my thinking. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's completely factual. The moment it comes to essays, the antennas go up. Like, no. So that's it from me. Anybody wants to share their experience with the use of ChatGPT is the most popular, but there's Jasper. There's a lot of others out there as well. No? Okay. Sweti.
Okay, so we introduced a subject for the A levels. We ran a Cambridge program in global perspectives. So the students just used AI, downloaded information. As the teacher was going through the what the student had written, he said, "You have just copied what AI has given you. Now try and put it in context as to what Cambridge wants." He didn't do that. The paper was sent to Cambridge. Bang, it came back as plagiarism. And they were even quoting that this appeared so many times in this paper, this appeared so many times. So we have to be very careful with our students, and they also look for the anti-plagiarism apps before us.
Yes, thank you. That's a good point, and I wanted to highlight that even before AI. Oh, okay.
Sorry to disturb in the middle, but I thought for counselors that would be helpful that as a counselor sometimes there are very weak students we have who can't think, who can't write, who are just stuck in that application just because they can't write. So that is the time, at least I tell them, take the help of ChatGPT just to ideate or just to say that, okay, this is the course I want to do and write something about it. Or if a particular university is asking for information, and then we can use that as a skeleton and refine it. So I would say one of the advantages is when there are children who are completely not capable or don't have that mindset or not in that international curriculum.
I have a question. How do universities differentiate and then evaluate between a person's essay, a student's essay, written by ChatGPT and written by the student himself? Yes, there's a hand there.
So thank you so much for this question, and part of me coming here today is for that exactly. So I work at Northwestern University in Qatar's campus, and you know we are a highly selective university. So we read a lot, I can say in this way. I don't want to go into the details of other programs that can catch the usage of AI and everything. I'm going to go to a more deep kind of understanding we have. So we read thousands of applications, right? The main key that we have when we read an application is the word consistency. So a common app application sometimes is more than 50 or 60 pages. So we read the consistency. Students think that we only read the writing supplement or the essay, right? They don't think we read short answer questions. So in the short answer question, I be reading the is written was and the was is written is, while in the common app essay, I'm reading the 15th century poetry. So you can see the difference between the consistency first. Secondly, we can see the difference with the human touch when it comes to the writing. This is very different. Third thing we found, especially because ChatGPT was mentioned, a lot of people don't know that ChatGPT, the free version of it, the data was until 2022. That's it. So we were finding some essays, many one, they're mentioning about a certain project and mentioning the name of certain professor that his work was highlighted in 2022, but no one is mentioning any work of that professor after 2022. So this will let you also know that ChatGPT was used in this factor. Fourth thing, which is more important also I can say, is that before AI, students were going back, paying someone to write their essay. That's even something harder than the AI, right? But again, it's going back to the consistency. Sometimes we might check certain student and we see this student, there's something not like right when in his or her essay. So we do an interview with a student, and the interview will show you a lot of things. Definitely, this is not something we do to all of our applicants, but this will be for the students that we think they will qualify to be admitted, and we need to do that final thing. ChatGPT would be a great resource for students who are financially disadvantaged because we have students who are financially advantaged that they can hire someone who can help them, guide them, and everything. ChatGPT can be just an enhanced Google, we can say it, to help in search, but not relying on the whole writing thing. Sorry if I took more than time.
No, that's fine. I think you hit some of my points. So I just have one more slide and then we can open it more for discussion. You said a lot of things I was going to bring up, so I'm not going to repeat that. But what I wanted to say is, even before AI, when it comes to writing a paper, writing an essay, in different countries, there is a varying understanding of what you need to cite, where you need to cite your sources. So the way I would write papers in high school in Bulgaria, my teachers expected me to cite certain sources to a certain level, but when I moved to United States, I quickly learned that it is more serious business and there are certain ways you have to cite sources. So one thing we do at my university to prepare our international students is we have a session for them during orientation that talks about the US classroom. And we spend a lot of time talking about the academic expectations. And when you're writing a research paper, how much of what you find on the internet can change, or if you're using all of it, how you have to cite it. Because plagiarism is a serious offense. You could be dismissed from your class, you could be dismissed from the university. And I think a lot of students may not realize that coming in. And then another thing about the essays, the recommendation letters, when we read that, what I'm looking for is the information that the rest of your application doesn't tell me. So for example, in the recommendation letter, I would expect Pragati to tell me, this student, they're a social butterfly. They would thrive at a big university. They need to have a lot of friends. So being at a small school, not in a major city where they won't have a lot of opportunities to engage and make friends outside of the classroom, that's not going to be good for their well-being. So while I won't deny admission for someone who is academically admissible to my small school, knowing that would allow me to then talk to the student after they've been admitted and make sure they are well aware of the environment of the university, and then I can refer that information to their success coach, to their peer mentor, to make sure that they're socially supported and will be successful at my school. So really what we're looking for in those essays and recommendation letters is something I cannot get by reading their transcripts or reading their overall application. So Intelligent, which is an online educational magazine, did a survey earlier this year. And what they found out is about 50% of universities within the US already use AI in some shape or form. And another 30 were planning to implement those by the end of 2024. So what are some of the benefits of using AI on the university admission side? Well, efficiency comes to mind. There's so many apps we need to read. If I could use an AI tool to help me calculate the GPA or pick up if, let's say, for my biomedical sciences major, students need to have certain number of science classes for 2 years. So if I don't have to look at that transcript and count the science classes AI can tell me, then I can spend more time reading the essay, maybe reaching out to their college counselor and trying to learn more about the student. Why it's important to be more efficient? Students expect answers right away. So a lot of them expect communication and availability for the admission counselor 24/7. So if I spend my time calculating GPAs and reading transcripts, I probably won't have enough time to engage with my students. Trade identification, that's another thing that got me thinking about when I'm applying for jobs. And all these companies use AI to screen my resume for the keywords. There are tools in the college admission that now help screen those essays for traits that we're looking in our students. So for example, if at my school we put a big emphasis on community involvement and volunteering, I would use AI to screen the essay to see, is this student telling me in their essay that that's important to them, that they have been involved, or it's important to them but they need more opportunities to focus on that as part of their college career. And then bias reduction. If I'm using AI tools, they would strictly look at the factual information of the application and tell me, is this student academically prepared to be a student at my university, regardless of any other socioeconomic factors about them. However, there's some ethical concerns. So I would think probably college counselors, students, parents, they would want to know if universities are using AI tools to make final decisions, correct? You'd want to know if I'm reading and admitting the student or if I'm using ChatGPT. So making sure that we're transparent in the expectations we set for admission, what we're looking for, what is the criteria. And then the flip side of having bias and diversity in AI development. So the AI tools are only as unbiased as the person who created them is. So we need to make sure that the creators of different AI tools are not coding their own biases into the tools. And also, how do we make sure that happens? We want to make sure that there's a diverse group of people creating tools that would pick up and come up with unbiased results for applications. And I think that's my last slide, maybe. So, okay, let's see how we're doing on time. Do we? Okay, we have about 10 minutes. So I think at this point we can just engage with you and hear from you. You know, what AI tools have you been using? Are there any that you'd recommend? Are there any that you'd recommend not to use? What tools are your students using? And how do we assure that AI really doesn't replace us all? Yes, maybe, yes, okay.
Okay, I'm sorry again, I talk a lot. So just quick remark regarding that. As you know, most of the American institutions use Slate for admissions. So there's a new feature which will be integrating AI with the Slate. That will be available, I guess, next year, the year after. They were just announcing it back in June. Which is the AI that will help us in reading applications. But it's not gonna be reading the application and making a decision. What the AI will be doing is just might recalculate the GPAs anyway, might just like give us a live kind of manuscript about the student, like he has or she has like 3 recommendation letters, top words used are these, and that's it. Like it will not affect us in the decision. And this is the AI tool that will be integrated in Slate. I only have one remark to say for high school counselors is that we appreciate the work that you do so much. Like we can't do our work without you. So when we are reading a recommendation letter from you, from the teachers and the counselors, we're not reading it in a way to check your vocabulary or to check your writing skills. We already appreciate all the work that you do. We just want a heartful kind of recommendation letter. Be very honest with us. We're just trying to look at the student using your pair of eyes. So we don't care about the language, or at least I can say about us, we don't care much about the language used as much as we just can understand it and know the student's real characteristics from you. So don't overthink the language used. Just be genuine with it. And that's the only thing I can add. And I promise this is the last interaction I'm going to say, so I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for this valuable feedback.
Two things I wanted to say. One is that as a school, we engage in game-based learning. And this year, we've been able to put some of the games online and integrate AI to it in a way that, for example, there is a game for summary writing, where the child plays the games to write the summary of a text. Usually a teacher or a facilitator has to correct it, then go give feedback. By then the child has lost interest. Because of the AI integration to these online games we have generated, the feedback is immediate. So we have seen that the child is three times more likely to reattempt and work on the feedback given, and it is the AI is trained according to the rubric. So AI is like an assistant for a facilitator, releasing her bandwidth to do a lot more for the child and not just engaging in corrections. But it is also important. Second thing is I also manage the hiring processes, and a lot of applications happen and I get to read their responses. When I see that ChatGPT is used in curating certain responses in the application, I reach out to them and ask some first principle thinking questions, and I don't hear back from them. It is an indicator probably of lack of self-esteem or an attack. So AI at this point cannot be a thinking tool. It needs to be an assistant tool. So thinking you're doing, the self-esteem is something you're bringing in, the confidence is yours, but it is assisting you to assimilate things. So yeah, there are two things. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I am an Education USA advisor. So for those who do not know what Education USA is, we are an official source of information on US higher education. That's because we come under the US State Department. So as part of my job, we are not supposed to obviously endorse any university or write essays for students, but we do proofread the essays and suggest ways to improve them. So just one of my students, above average, decent grades. So when he came to me with his essay, I obviously could make it out that it's directly from ChatGPT or any other AI tool. So I sat with the student and I sort of explained the importance of writing a personal essay. Like personal essay means you have to be personal, especially for undergraduate applications. So what I'm trying to tell you is that when he got that essay from ChatGPT, it was a very generic essay. So I explained to him, but he was scared of writing it in English because obviously his English was not that, it was not very articulate. So I just told him, just write your experiences, write anything that you would like to highlight. Maybe you have some issues that you want to discuss. So just be open about it and write it. So he wrote it, and he came from a broken family. And in spite of that, he sort of made his way up, and he used to stay with his grandparents. He just wrote it, and I told him how to put it in a chat GPT and just refine it and polish it. And it turned out to be a beautiful essay, and he submitted, and he got into a very good institute. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason, obviously, because there are other holistic factors also. But as she rightly mentioned, using it as an assistant tool is important. The same goes for university shortlisting as well. Ask the right questions. I am someone who's not financially from a strong background. So I want to look at so-and-so areas of the US where the cost of living is between $30,000 to $40,000 per year. So what universities are you suggesting? So it will give you a list of those universities. But again, that should not be the end of it. You have to go and visit those university websites for more detailed information. So it has made my job a little easier. And Hyderabad so I'm from Hyderabad. I'm not from Hyderabad, I'm actually from Bombay, but I stay in Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is a very agent-driven market, obviously, because a lot of students go from there. So for us, we tell students that use these tools as an assistant so that you don't have to be completely dependent on someone who just writes the same essays for hundreds of other students and submits it. So yeah.
Thank you so much, colleague from Hyderabad. I am from Hyderabad. Um, we are from Hyderabad. I think there are others as well who are sitting in the audience who are from Hyderabad. But I have one question going back to what you said, and I would love the universities to, answer our questions. For example, a student has actually written the essay, but the refining process has happened through an AI tool. How would you look at that? Because the language has changed, right? The voice will change for sure. How would you be viewing it as universities?
Just as an extension, just as an extension, let's say as a purist, the student doesn't use any tool to refine it and keeps it original. So given the kind of tools that you have to validate and check, how do you address these?
If a student doesn't use an AI tool, how would you view that student? Anybody, any university willing to jump into it? Okay. You want to add, Sanjukta? In the interest of time, thank you so much, guys. We were very apprehensive at the beginning that we were going to have an empty room, but thank you so much for coming over.